In this video, we're going to be reviewing the Walther PPQ in 9mm. The Walther PPQ was released in 2011. The original model, as you see here today, or now referred to as the M1 models, came out at that time frame. In 2013, the M2 variant came out, which moved to a typical, what you would see in most American pistols, as a grip-mounted magazine release, and it's ambi now on the M2 model. This is the M1 model, which means the magazine release is typical German style below the trigger guard. It's still ambi, but this is the M1 version. The M2, you'll see the magazine release located here. Originally, when it was marketed by Walther, it was targeted for the German special ops units because they couldn't go to the law enforcement units because of the greatest thing about this pistol, which is the trigger. And we'll go through that in a moment. So what are some of the things I like about the Walther PPQ? Well, one of the first things you're going to notice when you hold the pistol is the ergonomics are exceptional. This is one of the best molded hand grips on the market today, and it includes 3 back straps. So in this case, I have the largest back strap on the pistol, and then you have 2 smaller back straps as well, all of which are just excellent. In order to change them out, all you have to do is drive out the lower pin, and they slide out, and then you can put a new one in and drive the pin into the system. But the ergonomics of this pistol are just outstanding. Another thing that people love about the Walther PPQ is it is extremely accurate. In fact, of all of the pistols that you see on the table here today, the Walther PPQ is the most accurate pistol I've ever fired in a striker fire system. It's just excellent, and there's 2 main reasons for that, in my opinion. There is the trigger as well as the sights. First off, you're going to notice when you fire the pistol that the trigger is outstanding. It's got very little, if any, creep. It's got a nice reset and an excellent trigger pull. I mean, it's just outstanding. Another thing you're going to notice about the sights is that the front dot of the sight is actually very small. And to me, I think this leads to higher levels of accuracy. There's people out there that teach in special ops to fire, and they tell you to put a very small notch on the front sight. And you compare that, for example, to the FN 509, where you've got a much larger front dot. And even though at short range that can be good, and if you have good eyesight, or if you have poor eyesight, this can be beneficial. I do like the smaller dots on the sight because I think that leads to greater accuracy in the pistol itself. So those are 2 of the reasons why I think that the accuracy of this pistol are so exceptional. Other aspects of the pistol I like, it has a tenifer finish on both the slide as well as the barrel, just like the old Glocks had, which are very good for making them impervious to the elements as well as scratching and other things of that nature. The other thing is when you fire the pistol, it's actually, the recoil is very slight and very manageable. And there are 3 main variants all the way up to the 45 that I fired all 3 of them. And again, it's just very easy and very manageable. And I think it has a lot to do with the exceptional ergonomics of the pistol. Now, what are some of the things I don't like about the pistol? Well, ironically, the one thing that I compliment Walther on, meaning the size of the sights, and it has a adjustable rear sight, is also a negative because these are plastic sights. And one of the things you're going to notice on the sight system here is, unlike most pistols out today, it does not have a front dovetail for the front sight system. It's actually through a small hole, and it's plastic, which they can break. Same thing with the rear sight as well. I would not want to try to belt charge this pistol a lot with this sight. Chances are it could very well break off. So one of the drawbacks, of course, is, even though I do like the sights, I don't like the fact that they're plastic, and I don't like the fact that they're not mounted very well. There's also a lack of aftermarket options when you do this as well. When you have dovetail front and back sights, you have a lot more options compared to what you're going to have with the Walther PPQ. As far as caliber and capacity, this is a 9mm version. They also make 40 cal as well as 45 ACP that came out recently. In the case with the 9mm, it does come in a 15 round magazine that's standard with this pistol. And you get 2 magazines with the pistol when you buy them, and I believe aftermarket, purchasing the magazines are anywhere from like the $30 range and up. As far as magazines are concerned as well, same drill here that I talk about every time I do videos, which is if you're going to buy and actively use a pistol, you're going to need at least 6 magazines. You're going to need 3 that are ready loaded and 3 for practice. So if you plan on buying a PPQ and actively shooting it, plan on buying multiple magazines as well. Now, as far as the action, it is a striker fired system. As I alluded to earlier, the trigger is what you're going to notice the most when you fire this pistol. It is just exceptional. You're also going to notice it has a very short reset as well, which means if you're going to do rapid fire, it allows you to rapid fire the pistol very effectively and very easily. So that one of the great things about this pistol is the trigger, and it makes for greater accuracy in the pistol as well. Now, as far as ergonomics, it is a 4-inch barrel. This version uses a land and groove rifling. In 2006, the M2 models now moved to the polygonal barrels, similar to what you see in the Glocks. So the lands and grooves, if you have a model prior to 2016, you will have the lands and grooves. Otherwise, if you're in the newer M2 models, you will be in the polygonal barrels. And we actually have a video that explains the differences between the two. You have 3 backstrap options. Again, very easy to put to move through. The grip surface is excellent. It's very comfortable. There's a lot of different types of grip surfaces out there today in the various different pistols, and surprisingly, this is the most subtle, yet in many respects is very effective and very comfortable to fire. And you can easily fire this with gloves on as well. There's plenty of room within the trigger guard assembly to be able to fire this tactically in that regard. As far as size is concerned, you'll notice that the frame, it kind of it rounds out a little bit. It's not flat blocky like you see some other types of pistols. So for example, compared to the Glock 17, it may seem that the width is very similar, but when it protrudes out, including the ambidextrous slide release, it tends to be just a little bit thicker than a Glock. But again, it's very subtle, and many people don't notice it because it tends to round out at the top of the slide. As far as takedown and assembly, it's again very Glock-like. You know, you check to make sure the gun's loaded, and then just like the Glock, where you have the takedown action, same thing with the PPQ. You pull back a little bit, let down on this, and then you have 4 major elements. You have the frame, the barrel, the spring, as well as the slide assembly. And again, reassembly. Again, very Glock-like, very customary to what you would see with a typical striker-fired pistol. As far as options that are in the market today, there are now different options, including threaded barrel options in case you want to run suppressors. There's a navy version as well. There's even 5-inch slide versions, as I alluded to earlier. There's also different barrel lengths as well. So how does this pistol compare weight-wise to the other pistols in the market today? Well, let's go ahead and weigh them. So the first thing is, how does it wear? What does it come in at empty? It comes in around 1 pound, a little over 5 ounces, and then fully loaded it comes in at about 1 pound 15 ounces. So when you compare this, for example, it's very similar to, for example, a Glock 19 that comes in almost the exact weight of 1 pound 5.5 ounces. The Glock 17, which comes in at 1 pound 6.5 ounces. And then you can go up to the VP9, again very similar, 1 pound 7 ounces. And then the FN 509, which comes in at 1 pound, close to 1 pound 8 ounces. So as you can see, with the exception of a couple ounces, they're almost all the same in the same weight range. As far as accuracy, we were talking about this earlier. One of the great things about the Walther PPQ is the type of accuracy you're going to receive out of this pistol, or at least what I've received. So these are groups that I fired at both 30 as well as 50 feet. And these are some of the tightest groups I've ever fired. In fact, I'll show some comparisons to some of the other pistols on the table. When I moved out to 70 feet, however, it did tend to open up a little bit, and then one-handed opened up as well. Not sure why that is. I'm sure it's me, but at least with the 30 and the 50-foot groups, excellent groups. So let's compare those, for example, to the Glock 17 at 30 and 50 feet. And how did those compare? Well, I was clearly able to fire tighter groups with the PPQ at 30 and 50 feet than I was the Glock 17. Same thing applies to the FN 509. So another pistol that recently came on the market, again, tighter groups with the Walther than I was able to fire through the 509. And then you have the H&K VP9, which is another excellent trigger right out of the box. And again, pretty similar groups, but I just fired, and I noticed at a little bit longer range, I fired a little bit better with the Walther PPQ than the H&K VP9. But as far as accuracy is concerned, the VP9 was the closest, and ironically, it also has the second best trigger compared to the Walther PPQ. So, what leads to that? As I alluded to earlier, I think a lot of it has to do with the trigger, and I think a lot of it has to do with the smaller notch in the front sight. It just helps for the accuracy, at least for me, compared to the other pistols on the table. So what are the alternatives that are out there today? Well, you're looking at many of them. You have the Glock 17s and Glock 19s. As far as size-wise, it is similar to the Glock 19, but it's somewhere a little bit in between. The slide's almost the same, but the grip's a little bit longer. And compared to the Glock 17, the slide's a little bit shorter, but the grip is about the same length. So you've got kind of an in-between pistol between the two. If you line them up to the FN 509, they're almost identical as far as size is concerned, and the same thing with the VP9. So it's probably closer to those hybrids that you see now with the VP9 and 509 size-wise, which tend to fall in between the Glock 19 as well as the Glock 17. There are other semi-automatics, certainly the market's filled with them, but these are many of the most common ones that you will see out there today, and how it ultimately compares. Width, again, is just a little bit longer or wider at the center, simply because of the ambidextrous slide release, but short of that, it's very hard to be able to tell the difference between the two. So, that takes us to the utility. What would you use this for? This is an excellent pistol for home defense, as well as especially target shooting. Because of the accuracy alone, how smooth it is to fire this pistol, this is the type of pistol you would want to take to the range and shoot with regularly. It is just that accurate and that comfortable to shoot with. And it's excellent, especially if you want to use it against two-legged predators. So overall, this pistol, compared to every one that I have on the table, is marginally, but certainly better. As far as accuracy is concerned. This is a very accurate striker-fired pistol, arguably one of the best in the market today as far as accuracy is concerned. The ergonomics are excellent, especially if you're an ambi type shooter that fires right hand and left hand. You've got controls that are ambi both on the M1 as well as the M2 models. It has the best trigger on the market. It is very affordable for what it is. The size is just right. I have an average size hand. It fits my hand just right with different type of backstrap configurations. It's just fun to shoot compared to a lot of other pistols that I've fired that I like certain elements of one thing versus another. I really like the PPQ. And then the final thing is, if you like various different caliber options, it can accommodate you. You've got the 9mm, the 40 cals, as well as now the 45 ACP. And from my firing of all three variants, I found that the characteristics I like of the 9 also apply to each of those other two variants as well. So excellent, excellent pistol all around in the market today. If you're looking more for a striker-fired pistol, it's going to give you better accuracy that you're not going to probably put into really extreme elements, the PPQ is certainly one worth considering and an excellent choice. I hope you like this video and this channel. If you do, please like us on YouTube, and thanks for watching.